So, welcome back, students. We have been learning the lesson being neighborly, the first lesson of Standard 11, subject English. Till here, just we have looked about the friendly relations between and friendly gossip between Laurie and Joe. Now we are going to continue with the same. So, next, when don't go to school, I am a businessman girl. I mean, I go to wait on my great aunt. And a dear, cross old soul she is too, answered Joe. So he's suggesting, don't go to school. I'm a businessman. So being businessman, he does not go to school, girl. And I mean that means what he wants to say. I go to wait on my great aunt. So he has a great aunt. He is going to wait on. Here the phrase wait on means to to serve to serve for someone's need. So he's going to serve for the need of his great aunt. That is meant to help her. And a dear. So he's addressing the Joe and a dear. Cross old soul she is. The cross, that means very old fashioned. The word for anger. It is old fashioned word for anger. She is somewhat angry and old. Being old age, she is somewhat angry too. So answered Joe. So Laurie opened his mouth to ask another question, but remembering just in time that it wasn't manners to make too many inquiries into people's affair. He shut it again. So he knows what to ask and what not to ask because he just first time having interaction with Joe. So he just keeps some limitations and looked uncomfortably. So Joe liked his good breeding and did not mind having a laugh at Aunt March. So he likes his good breeding. Good breeding here it means he is very well mannered person, very good gentleman person, good etiquettes. That is good breeding. So he did not mind having a laugh at the Aunt March. So she gave him a lively description of the fidgety old lady, her fat poodle, the parrot that talked Spanish. So it is talking about the Aunt March, that is about her mother. She's just giving the description, so revealing. So she gave him a lively description of the fidgety old lady. So, here are the few words that also you need to understand. It is nervousness and boredom, fidgety. The meaning of the word fidgety. Nervous and old lady. That is her fat poodle. Poodle. It is one type of dog. Poodle. Type of dog. There has a thick curly hair. The dog which has thick and curly hair. The parrot that talked Spanish, they have a parrot at home and it talks in Spanish language. And the library where she reveled. Revel, they enjoyed in a lively, noisy way without drinking and dancing. Just enjoying lively, but without drinking and dancing. So everything she's just revealing. Laurie enjoyed that immensely. That what she tells about her mother and the other things that Laurie enjoyed that immensely. And when she told about the prim old gentleman who came once to woo Aunt March, just to convince the Aunt March, there was one gentleman who came. So that incident she tells, and in the middle a fine speech of Paul had tweaked his wig off to his great dismay. So there is a reference of one person. Then how the Paul had tweaked his wig that is a wig that we wear on our head. It is made of hair, that is artificial hair. So that is tweaked off, and how there was a incident that made the laugh, and the person felt great dismay, disappointed. May the boy lay back and laugh till the tears ran down his cheeks, and maid popped her head in to see what was the matter. So boy enjoyed these incidents and informations so lively, he took it so happily, so cheerful that he just lay back and laughed till the tears ran down his cheeks. That means he was so much laughed that his eyes filled with the tears by continuously laughing. And suddenly there came a maid. He just peeped out to see what is happening. Oh, that does me no end of good. Tale on please. So he just insisting it should not end. So such things, incidents should not end. Just keep on telling me. He said, taking his face out of the sofa cushion red and shining with a merriment. That is a joy. Much elated with her success, Jo did tell on all about their plays and plans, their hopes, their fears for father, and the most interesting events of the little world in which the sister lived. So Jo also felt that she succeeded, that making him happy. So she was telling about the plays and plans, their hopes and their fears about the father, their expectations, interesting events of the little world of their sisters. Okay, the things between the sisters. Then they got the talking about books, and to Joe's delight, she found that Laurie loved them as well as she did, and had read even more than herself. So both are the fond of books, what she found of, and she finds that he has read many more books than her. If you like them so much, come down and see ours. Grandfather is out, so you need not be afraid, said Laurie, getting up. So he's insisting to get down and have a look at the library as the grandpa is out of the house. I'm not afraid of anything, returned Joe with a toss of her head. So she said, I'm not afraid of anything. I don't believe you are. So he also thinks the same, exclaimed the boy, looking at her with much admiration, though he privately thought she would have good reason to be a trifle afraid of the old gentleman if she met him in some of his moods. The atmosphere of the whole house being summer-like, Laurie led the way from room to room, letting Joe stop to examine whatever struck her fancy. So just they are going from one room to the another, and she just having a glance at the things in the house of the Laurie. And so at last they came to the library, where she clapped her hands and pranced, as she always did, with especially delighted. She just clapped her hands looking at the library. She becomes happy, so happily she is clapping, and pranced, that is jump. She suddenly jumps, wow, in this way, exclaimed she, in exclamatory manner. What to clap her hands and prance as she always did when especially delighted. It was lined with books. That means there are many books kept in line of books. And there were pictures and statues and distracting little cabinets full of coins and curiosities, and sleepy hollow chairs, and queer tables, and bronzes, and best of all, a great open fireplace with a quaint tiles of around it. So, this is the description of the library. It is that library. All the books are kept in a line, and she becomes much of the happy, and she likes the little cabinets full of coins and curiosities, sleeping hollow chairs. What she explained here, there is a large armchair, specially made to sit in a relaxed way to read, and a queer table that's making a sound, queer tables and bronzes, and the best of all, the great open fireplace with a quaint tiles, quaint, that is old fashioned tiles around it. So it has a fireplace also, so sitting near to the fire they can read it. So that's it, the description of the library. So here, what richness! So sighed Joe, sinking into the depth of a velour chair and gazing about her with an air of intense satisfaction. What a richness, sighed Joe. So Joe say how rich it is. Sinking into the depth of the velour chair, that sitting in that chair. So Theodore Lawrence, you ought to be the happiest boy in the world, she added impressively. You have to be very happiest boys in the world because you have everything in your home. The big library, the posh, the mansion, everything is enjoyable at home. So why are you living alone and why are you feeling so much bored? She's asking. A fellow can't live on books, said Laurie, shaking his head as he perched on the table opposite. So he just perched on the table, sit on the table opposite, and he said, a fellow can't live on books. That means simply all works and no play. That makes Jack a dull boy in this sense. So only just keep on reading and studies that makes person so much bored. So he needs play also. He needs to work out. Even he needs to spend time with his friends, relatives, so that his life should become very much enjoyable. And only simply sitting, studying, reading, it is not a life. So he says a fellow can't live on books. He needs the company of the people, company of nature as well. Before he could say more, a bell rang and Joe flew up, exclaiming with alarm, "Mercy me, it's your grandpa." So suddenly there was a bell rang and Joe flew up, exclaiming. Joe says, "Mercy me now. Please have a mercy on me. It's your grandpa." No, that means she's just feared up, and I thought that he may say something, looking at her. Well, what if it is you are not afraid of anything? You know, returned the boy, looking wicked. That means, hey, what did you say that you did not fear and you did not afraid of anyone? Then why are you afraid? When the bell rang and you thought that my grandpa has come, that means you lied. In this way, in a wicked way, that means in a naughty way. I think I am a little bit afraid of him, but I don't know why I should be. So she says, I'm just a little bit afraid, not the very much. The mommy said, I might come and I don't think you are any the worse for it, said Joe, composing herself, though she kept her eyes on the door. I am a great deal better for it, and you are so much obliged. I am only afraid you are very tired of talking to me. It was so pleasant, I could not bear to stop, said Laurie gratefully. I could not bear to speak. Now what it says here, it is a great deal better for it, and you are so much obliged. I am only afraid you are very tired of talking to me. That means Laurie says to Joe that I know that you are very tired of talking to me, but it was so pleasant. I could not bear to stop. The doctor to see you, sir. And the maid beckoned as she spoke. So there comes a maid and she just beckoned, indicate, and it says, the doctor to see you, sir. The doctor has come to meet you. Would you mind if I left you for a minute? I suppose I must see him, said Laurie. So Laurie wants to get permission and he says, please don't mind. I'm just going for a minute. So I'm supposed to see him now. Don't mind me. I am happy as a cricket here. So here's a phrase. She says she does not mind and she is as happy as cricket. As happy as a cricket. So word as and like when comes together, when these words are used in a phrase, so it becomes a simile, figures of speech. So it is called as a simile. So it is comparison. As happy as a cricket. Cricket's the small insect. So she says she is as happy as a small crickets, small insects, as they are very lively, move here and there, and they live very happily. So in this sense, she says, I am also happy like them. Laurie went away, and his guest amused herself in her own way. So she was standing before a fine portrait of the old gentleman when the door opened again, and without turning, she said decidedly. So she is just standing before the portrait of the. There is one portrait, and suddenly there comes someone, and she says, "I am sure now that I should not be afraid of him." As she thought that Laurie has returned, so she is telling to Laurie. But see what happens next. "I am sure that I should not be afraid of him, for he is got kind eyes, though his mouth is grim, and he looks as if he had a tremendous will of his own. He isn't as handsome as my grandfather, but I like him." So here is the description what she says about the grandfather of Laurie. Actually, there comes the grandfather of Laurie, but she is not afraid, and she thinks the Laurie is there. So she is just telling about her grandfather, that his grandfather as well, and I am sure that I should not be afraid of him, and he is got kind eyes. He has got good kind eyes, though his mouth is grim. This face looks somewhat serious and angry, but he looks as if he had a very tremendous will of his own, and he is not as handsome as my grandfather. My grandfather is handsome, but compared to him, he is not very handsome, your grandfather. So in this way she is telling. Let us see what happens. "Thank you, ma'am," said a gruff voice behind her, and there to her great dismay stood old Mr. Lawrence. So the voice comes there and it says, "Thank you, ma'am." That is gruff, serious voice behind her, and she noticed there is a great dismay. Suddenly, disappointedly stood old Mr. Lawrence. Mr. Lawrence was there. Poor Jo blushed till she could not blush any redder, and her heart began to beat uncomfortably fast as she thought what she had said. So she understood what she said, and she started feeling uncomfortably. For a minute, a wild desire to run away possessed her, but that was cowardly, and the girls would laugh at her. So she resolved to stay and get out of the scrape as she could. A second look showed her that the living eyes under the bushy eyebrows were kidder even than the painted ones, and there was a sly twinkle in them, which lessened her fear a good deal. Even though that person looks somewhat grim and serious, but he has a very good sprinkle, that's good in his eyes, twinkle in his eyes, that means caring look, that somewhat made her comfortable. The gruff voice was gruffer than ever, and the old gentleman said abruptly, that is suddenly, after the dreadful pause, "So you are not afraid of me, hey?" In this way he is asking question. "Not much, sir. And you don't think me as handsome as your grandfather?" "You don't think me as handsome as your grandfather?" "Not quite, sir." So she answers in this way. There is a lively communication, and she is somewhat afraid. "And I have got a tremendous will, have I?" So he says, I'm very tremendous will person, have I? "I only said I thought so." "But you like me in spite of it?" "Yes, I do, sir." So in this way, even though there is he is questioning, but she is also answering to the same questions. That answer pleased the old gentleman. He gave a short laugh, shook hands with her, and putting his finger under her chin, turned up her face, examined it gravely, and let it go, saying with a nod, "You have got your grandfather's spirit. If you haven't his face, he was a fine man. my dear, but what is better? He was a brave and honest one, and I was proud to be his friend. So these are the words. Looking at her face, he says, "You have got your grandfather's spirit. You have got the courage of your grandfather. If you haven't his face, but he was a fine man, but he thinks he just gaze and talks good about the grandfather of Joe. He was a fine man, my dear, but what is better, he was brave and honest, and I was proud to be his friend." "Thank you, sir." And Joe was quite comfortable after that, for it suited her exactly. "What have you been doing to this boy of mine? Eh?" So he is asking. Was the next question sharply put? "Only trying to be neighborly, sir." And Joe told how her visit came about. "Yes, think he needs cheering up a bit, do you?" "Yes, sir. He seems a little lonely and young folks." So there is a discussion between them, and he says, "What have you been doing to this boy of mine?" "So only trying to be neighborly, sir." She answered that being a neighbor, I am just trying to maintain the friendly relations and a good contact as we keep with our good neighbors. So she also trying to be a good neighbors. So trying to maintain the neighborly relationships. That's it what she answered. And what about the boy? The boy seems somewhat. See, he also became happy in my company. "Yes, sir. He seems a little lonely." So she answers, as I saw him lonely, so I just came to meet and comfort him. Young folks would do him a good perhaps. Now we are only girls, but we should be glad to help if we could, for we don't forgot the splendid Christmas present you sent us, said Joe eagerly. We are only girls, but we should be glad to help if we could, for we don't forget the splendid Christmas present that you sent us. So it is indirectly Christmas present, a Christmas present to the family of Joe, that is the neighborly company, of Lawrence family. So that is a gift that was automatically sent to the family of Joe. Tut tut tut. That was the boy's affair. How is the poor woman? How is the poor woman? So see the southern turn. Doing nicely, sir. So grandfather inquiring about her mother. So she is fine, sir. And off went Joe, not talking very fast, as she told about the Hummels. Hummels, that is a poor family whom the March family helps. Another family. She told all about the Hummels, in whom her mother had interested a richer friend than they were. Just her father's way of doing good. I shall come and see you, mother, some fine day. Tell her so. There is a tea bell. We have it early on the boy's account. Come down and go on being neighborly. Okay, so this is the message passed by the grandfather of Lori. What he says, just her father's way of doing good. I shall come and see your mother some fine day. Okay, I'll just come to meet your mother. I'll just visit your house and inquiring about the father also. Tell her so. So now there is a tea bell. We have it early on the boy's account. So tea also it is already had, and now and go on being neighborly. That means he just says you just keep on behaving as good neighbors behave. So go on being neighborly. If you would like to have me, sir, shouldn't ask you. If I didn't, and Mr. Lawrence offered his arm with old-fashioned courtesy. That means Mr. Lawrence offered her his arm with old-fashioned courtesy. That means he just came forward and just giving a good hug, that is lovely hug, meet to the Jo. So that makes her so much comfortable. What would make say to this? Thought Jo as she was marched away, while her eyes danced with fun as she imagined herself telling the story at home. What would make say to this? Now she is just imagining, after telling all these things, that what had happened at the house of Laurie and the grandfather. So what would make say to this? If she informs all these things to her sister, what her sister would say? She is just thinking and imagining. Thought Jo as she was marched away. That means she is going towards her house now. While her eyes danced with fun, she was happy and cheerful, and she imagined herself telling the story at home. She just thinks, I'm just telling the story at home, the same thing what had happened at the house at Jo. So in this way she went to the home, and the lesson is over here.